Hey guys, my name is Riven and welcome to the Structure of Man Learn to Draw the Human Figure from your Mind Training course. Okay, so now in the previous lesson, we basically now trained the mind really to understand how to draw the skull in different angles, right? It gets the concept that it's we've got it, we've trained it to be able to draw the skull in a very easy way, taking all those formulas that we've been talking about and we've simplified it, right? So it gets how to draw the human head. So basically, we're just about to wrap this section up of the human skull. So what we want to do is now basically draw out. So here I'm just going to draw out some skulls that that you want to follow along, and just draw them out in different angles. So this will just prove to you that what we've been looking at, that it makes a lot of sense. So to do that, what we'll do is just draw them, let's say draw them out a kind of, not too big here, just we can do them like a kind of small over here, just to show you and really just get yourself to get used to these ideas here now. Right, so here we know that here we're going to draw out the front view, but really if I want to have it over here, I can just elongate it or do whatever I want with it, as long as I know where the center is, right? So the center line of this here, of the human head, is right here. This is really just going to be the brow area from here. I know that the nose is going to be just about here halfway, and I can just divide this in 3 different sections, knowing that the mouth is going to be here. Once I know this, I know that, okay, well, I mean, halfway here, it's really just going to come about here in this way. See, we don't even have to measure this anymore, right? The angle, because we get the concept. And from here, this line here, we know that it's just going to start to bend in this direction, and we're going to get the humans, the jaw line, just like this over here. Once we've done this, basically this is the center line here. We know that the temple area is going to be that nose, sorry, not the temple, the nose here for the bone for the nose here, it's going to be here. You're going to get like the opening for the nose over here. I'm going to be quick about these sketches because we have to do quite a bit here, right? And over here we can just make a determination. Yeah, well, I want the eye to be just about like this, right? I can just eyeball this and make sure that you're getting this right over here. It's just about drawing the box, knowing that the ratio is going to be definitely over here, right? So this top here is always under the brow area here, right? And then over here, I'm just going to draw this over here like this, and then we already know that, right? We just have to go like this over here and start to really just draw out the opening for the eye socket. Again, you can do all these different variations of it and try them out, right? So this again is going to be a realistic skull here, right? So here we know as soon as we draw the line just about where we're here, we know that we're just going to get the cheekbone just like this, and basically we're done. We do the jaw line over here, we got the mouth already over here, and it's just going to go like this over here, and you got your skull done. And then you can just put it in a little bit over here, right? So the thing to understand about this is, remember that there's a plane over here, right? Where the eye is, it goes out over here. This is something that you'll start to notice if you look at your face in the mirror. Start to notice that where this here is where your eyebrow goes here. There's this plane over here, and then there's the cheekbone over here, right? And that's it. So once we have this down, right, basically we've solved this problem. We got a skull now. So now let's draw it out, going facing this direction over here. I'm just going to draw it out like this, going in this direction. Here I'm just going to do a line, and make sure that when you're doing this line for the division, that you're doing it correctly over here, right? So I'm gonna make him face a little down over here, just like this, and I know where, as soon as I do this, I'm just going to get that line here for the head over here is going to go here. My jaw is really just going to be over here anyways, right? So you can elongate it if you don't like the shape of it. So the first thing is to really now get yourself to understand when you're drawing the human skull, think of the whole form. Start to understand it as a whole form idea, right? Once we have this, we know that this is the brow is, where the brow is going to be. This is really going to be the center where the eye is going to be. From here, I know that the nose is going to be here. I know it goes in over here, right? The brow area. I know that the eye socket, see, without even measuring, we can just do it this way. Right? There's really nothing to this now, right? Because we understand. We know that where the center line is. We know that this line here for the cheek is really just going to go in this direction like this, and we're going to pretty much get another skull over here. Very easy to do, right? And then we'll do this over here like this, and we've got that solved, right? So here I'm just going to clean it up a little bit, because when you're sketching it out, you're going to put like these sketch lines down, just tinkering with it and trying to understand the 3D form, right? So this is just going to be dark over here. This is going to be the nose over here like this. And then over here, that ratio is going to be just like this. Over here going, and then I'll just do the jaw like this, right? And that's really it, right? You can, and here we'll just color this in just like this, so that will give us another view of the skull. So for the side view facing this way, we know it's going to be very simple. So let's do a kind of a little different here. Let's do more of an oval shape, stretching it out. Over here, I know that this is going to go down. This is really going to be my jaw area. It's going to cut over here, just like this. I know that the center of this is going to be here, right? So I'm going to get that nudge in here, and then I'm going to get the nose, right? You can just do this, because you know it's going to end up from here to here. It's going to be the center of this, right? This is going to be a very easy one, and we know that when we have this line here, we can just look at the ratio over here and basically get the skull just like this. We know that it's going to go over here, right? This line over here is going to be like this, and you're basically going to get the line for the jaw, right? And it's going to be like this. And that's it. That gives you the idea for the skull. Remember, when you do the ear, it's got to be on top of this here instead of the bottom of this, right? So here I did pretty fast sketch, right? And if you want to get used to this idea, you can just put like a nose over here, just to get yourself to understand, right, how much the nose will come out in this way, right? So now let's do a 3/4 view on this side here. But notice how fast we're able to do this. In about 8 minutes, we've done 3 different drawings here, right? And this is also getting into understanding time management in drawing, right? So if someone asks you to draw all these skulls, you can tell them, well, I mean, it's going to take about roughly maybe, let's say, 20 minutes to draw out these skulls, right? And this will be very important. Let's say if you're sitting in front of our producer for a movie, and he's asking you to draw stuff, right? You should be able to just do this out very fast and just talk out. Okay, well, I understand. Let's say if we were doing some designs here, trying to understand like a design here for a creature. So we want to first draw the skull. So let's say if the producer is talking to you on how to do this, right? You'll probably just say, okay, draw me out some skulls, and I just want to look at some, we want to do like these different designs for this character here. Okay. Right, so time management in drawing is also going to play a key role. in drawing out your drawings, right? So notice that when we draw this out, here I'm just did this more sketchy over here, but you get the idea here, right? We don't have to clean that up, right? If you wanted to, you can, and feel free to do them in like different media types, like in pen and stuff like that, right? So get your mind to understand when you do this division that where the mouth is and how much space you have here over the chin area over here, just like this. This is like a very simple sketch over here, right? So here we can also now do well, let's do a side view over here like this, right? Just like this over here, and then over here we know that it's just going to be like this. I'm going to do a dip over here. Now here I'm just showing you a very quick sketching technique because you know how it's going to look. Look how fast the mind now just understands based on the ratios and the formulas, that it just knows that, right, the human skull is obviously going to just look like this. So here's a very quick sketchy style that I showed you of the human skull. So now I can just come in here and quickly fix this up, right? Because I know how it's going to look. I'm going to get that like that flat area over here, right? And then I'm going to get the placement for the ear over here like this, right? I know that the mouth is going to be basically over here. I'm going to get the jaw over here, the cheek, just like this over here, and it's going to be like this, right? And again, we can just put out the nose so we can get used to that idea here, right? And you can just do it this way, and this is where the bone for the neck is going to be, right? Just for like future reference, right? So notice how I did this much more differently, that it's more elongated here, right? So if I did it here, it would be much more different. I'm showing you like different variations of the skull that you can do. So now one thing that we want to look at is how do we do the skull when it's facing the other way, like it's away from us, right? So that's going to be pretty simple too. Really, if you just put your first idea down. So let's say if it's looking the other way, we just need to know the half of this, right? We know where the jaw is going to be, and from here we can just figure out, right? Okay, it's going to be basically like this, right? It's going to come over here, it's going to go something like this, and just start to turn things in basic shapes here, right? Start to understand stuff in these forms. First get the form out, that this is how you want it to be, right? And you already know over here that you're over here you're going to get that cheek bone over here, right? Your jaw is obviously going to be here, and that's basically it. There's nothing much to it. It's understanding the placement of the skull in this area. Here I'm just doing it a very basic way here to show you, right? And your ear placement is obviously just going to be over here, right? So under here we're getting now into that area of just understanding the forms, right? And from the back, really right from the back, it's going to be just like this. So notice how I'm showing you how you should experiment with different styles of sketching it out, right? Over here we cleaned it up, over here we kept it kind of loose, over here we changed the variation, here we're keeping it sketchy, and here from the back, here I'm just going to show you a different style of sketching. But over here I'm just going to do the same thing because I know it's just the same as the front, right? But it's going to be from the back, so there's really nothing much more to it than just doing it like this from the back, and that's it, right? So this is a very sketchy style of putting that idea down. This is more of a form style, right? This is another sketchy style. This is where we kind of like kept it much more clean. Okay, so I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks.